we're back with another episode of Let Me Be Frank podcast with myself, Simon Houston, the man himself, Frank McAvennie.
Hiya.
I've got a wee treat for St Mirren fans. We've had West Ham episodes, we've had Celtic episodes, we've even had Rangers episodes, but we've got a St Mirren special today. We've got Tony Fitzpatrick.
Legend.
Oh, no.
Legend, the legend that is.
Legend everywhere. That word legend gets banded about, doesn't it?
But for St Mirren, he's a legend. He's a proper legend, yeah.
No, and Frank played a big part in St Mirren's history. If you know, he was back twice, wasn't he? Twice you've been back, yeah.
Twice I was back, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I enjoyed it there. But what we were talking about earlier, what a lot of people don't know is Tony had a big part of me starting. I was working and I was part-time, it was 50 quid a week, so Mum gave me. And it was working Thursday, go Tuesdays and Thursdays, playing a Saturday.
Right.
And I thought, because I was late in the game, I thought, I need to go full-time if I'm going to make a go of this.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my parents and that, and St Mirren couldn't give me any money. So and Tony says, I'll pick you up in the morning and take you in. So it made me quit my job.
Yeah.
And then Tony picked me up, took me in. And I got a rise, which was covered but it was all down to Tony. If I never went full time, I might not have made it.
And were you living in Milton at that point?
Living in Milton, living with my parents. Yeah, it was good.
Sliding doors moment of Scottish football
there
history.
There you go, but yes, I loved it. I used to work in the Rose, I worked in the White Horse.
You did, yes, aye.
So you were telling us that story before we started recording, when you first heard about Frank.
Aye, it's incredible. My brother Tommy worked in the White Horse, and Tommy was a good football player, should have made it as well, but never really was too interested in the way to dedicate himself, but he was a top player. But anyway, he worked in the White Horse, and I was playing with St Mirren at the time, and my mum and dad stayed in Eagle Street, which was right at the end of Eagle Street was the White Horse, the distillery there. And they used to all play football in the streets and stuff. So my brother Tam comes in one day and I'm there and he goes, Tony, by the way, there's a boy playing in the street with us. He's different class. You need to tell St Mirren about him. And know how you hear that. You must have heard that. All right. My dad's like, with his fag, don't be so stupid, Tam. And he's going, no, I'm telling you, this guy can make, he said, he's brilliant. And I'm saying, all right, okay, aye. So I forgot all about it, right? This is the truth. And then Frank signs for Johnson Borough.
Aye.
And my brother comes in, raging one night. I told you about him as the guy who's playing the street. And that's the truth.
Aye.
That's the truth.
Was that proper? Was that old-fashioned jumpers or goalposts and all that?
Boys used to, Frank O'Neill.
Oh, Frank
crazy
was a tough
he used to play this guy
character.
character for Postal. He used to just, and we used to work in the cardboard where put it onto the cases, put the whiskey in, put it on the cases, but they used to drink whiskey as if they were drinking water. After a game, all warm. Wow,
just
brilliant. I'm going, oh, it was unbelievable. I couldn't. I mean, it was an education, put me off whiskey, that did. So, thank God. It's the only thing
I could have discovered them before if I'd have done it. My brother Tom.
Just think you could get a finder's fee or something.
I know, I should have.
St Mirren can play Johnson Borough completely,
That's true.
Having gone to school in Paisley, and a lot of my mates are big St Mirren fans, and when I mentioned to one or two of them who we had on this episode, absolutely fantastic. If there's not a bigger St Mirren legend to so many St Mirren fans, How did it all start for you though? You could have potentially started with Aston Villa, is that right? Yeah, there was a
couple actually things. It's amazing how it happened because I joined, my dad started a team, Dundas Vale, and for there I joined Postal YM. And Postal YM in the days, Bobby Denny, who was
he's just been knighted, is it knighted or MBE?
He should be knighted, but he's an MBE, yeah. Bobby was an incredible man, started so many people. Because Postal, yourself, and it's where Frank came from as well, the Milton and stuff like that.
High Postal.
Great, high Postal, Oh, brilliant. But it's salt of the earth there, but it's in the days as well, you're going away back, it was rough areas. But anyway, I joined Postal YM, and Postal YM were the nursery for Aston Villa. There used to be the nursery at Arsenal, but a guy called Joe Hill was the chief scout at Arsenal, moved to Aston Villa. So they became the sort of nursery for there. And I was playing at that time with Postal YM. And honestly, I'm not just saying this, we had a really good team. Guys like Bobby Russell played in the same.
He played the White Horse as well. But that's where he started,
So Bobby Russell, Jimmy McCluskey, Harry Carr, there was a lot of great players. And I was actually struggling, to be honest.
To get in?
No, they were all getting taken down to Aston Villa. and I wasn't getting taken down. And I was talking to Bobby Dinny last week, actually. He's still alive, and now he's doing 92. So I went to see Bobby, and he says, I remember chasing you down the stairs. I went up the stairs and I said to him, look, I'm getting nowhere. I'm going to chuck Poso. And he went, you get down the stairs. So a bit of luck, fate always happens in life, doesn't it? Aston Villa had asked St Mirren, I was going to say there, Post YM down to play before the Birmingham game.
Oh, the big derby?
Big derby.
Aye.
And they said, we'll play in that game against your youth team. So we had 40 minutes, a game for 40 minutes. And this is the truth. I was always someday, they call it visualisation. I never even knew what that meant in the days, but I used to be able to shut my eyes and dream about being a footballer and in the tunnel and running through. And I remember that day standing in that tunnel at Aston Villa, and all the English boys in the days were all 6 foot odds.
Boys.
But do you know something? I dreamt that every day of my life, standing in that tunnel, running at that park, hearing the crowds sing. I used to think they would sing my name, but they never, but I would stand in that tunnel. But what I did notice is even the English boys were all shaking with the noise. But to me, I'd loved it. No.
You'd played it out in your mind.
So when I ran out to the park, as I say, I was imagining they were singing my name. I must have done okay, because at the end they sat in and said, listen, we'll start bringing you down a month at a time. So in the days, like most of the boys for Poso and Milton and stuff like that, I was very thin, very small. No, still small, but thin, frail and stuff like that. So Joe Hill had sort of, chief scout Aston Villa, says, look, I come from Paisley. He says, and there's a team St Mirren in Paisley, he says, and you could go a Tuesday and a Thursday night, get extra training, build you up and stuff like that. And I says, it'd be brilliant. I would do that. And luckily that happened. I was joined between St Mirren and going down to Aston Villa. I'd also had a trial with Celtic, who were interested at the time. So when I got to about 15, I was leaving school. I had no intentions of staying at school or doing, and I wasn't really the cleverest, you know what I mean? So Aston Villa took me down for my final month. But lo and behold, to be fair, they got me in a room and said to me, you're no good enough. No, more or less, very blunt. They said, you're too small, no left foot. Or they went, gave me all what was wrong with me and said, listen, our advice to you is go up the road and get a trade.
Right.
So I did, I went up the road. But you know yourself, Frank, coming for a scheme, no, everybody before I was going to Aston Villa were all saying, come on, Tony, you're
local
proud
hero.
of you. Oh, it was unbelievable. My dad, my mom, everybody. And I felt that soon I come back up.
Horrible.
I was devastated. Even in the house, because my dad was he was well known in Post, so my dad and all Fitzy and stuff like that. And it really destroyed. I could see what it was doing to the family, never mind anybody else. But I also was training with St Mirren. So I started going there. And again, I was working away there, trying to get in the team. I get married at 16. Simon, no, so...
And it feels with everything, doesn't it?
Well,
You get married at 16, he's been married 16
I know, that's right, aye. But it was sort of hard because at 16, a week after my 16th birthday, I get married, and my daughter was born in the June, so you can
you were
see
an early starter.
an early starter. But that maybe helped me in future because Fergie, then, no, it was hard times. I was struggling with the club as well. I was working as a painter. No, Willie Todd was the chairman of St Mirren, and I was out in Cumbernauld painting windies and all the thing. I took pleurisy, and fate again happens. Sir Alex comes in as manager of St Mirren, but we didn't know what sort of thing. We were all part-time. No, training a Tuesday and a Thursday night. I was full-time at my painting. My painter's work, and I always remember this. It was when Fergie came in. I had pleurisy, as I said, but so I wasn't training a lot. And I thought, and he got everybody in. He says, "Listen, I'll tell you now." He says, "I'll get a meeting next Tuesday night with you." He says, "I'm going to speak to you and tell you who I'm keeping and who I'm not keeping." So I remember getting home this night, and my missus, I'd moved into a wee house in Bedley Street in Springburn. It was a single end, up the top flat, 180 Bedley Street, and it was just one room. And my missus was getting fed up because I was training every night. No, I was training, I was doing my work, And I goes in this night and she says to me, Tony, listen, I've had enough. She went, I'm going back to my boys. You're fit boy, you're this and that. And I said to her, listen, no, I'll tell you what, new managers in, I says, I'm going to sort of ask to get away. I'll concentrate my trade and I'll look after you in the way. And she went, do you promise me? And I says, aye. So I says, but I need to go in and see him next Tuesday just to let him know. Right, fair enough. So I goes in, we're all sitting in the dressing room. And there was guys there at the time, Billy Johnston and all these guys who'd played 200-300 games with someone. Yeah. I'm sort of like 18 by this time, coming up for 19. And it was all experienced players, just a few young boys. I was probably the youngest sitting. Next minute, I think it was Davy Provan, was the assistant manager at the time, comes down the stairs and he looks in the dressing room and he goes like that, Tony, Gaffer wants you up the stair. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm sitting like that. So as he goes, Billy and him come across, there was other experienced players said, listen, don't worry, just go up and speak. And I'm saying, and I was really panicking. So, and I'm not being the thing, Fergie was very, it was, he was a young manager, I remember, and the passion he had, but everybody was terrified of him as well, and that's the truth. So I'm going up, the bottom of the stairs changed my life really, because I stood at the bottom of the stairs and I went, I'm going away. You could, if you knew the old Love Street, you could go up the stairs to the manager's office or the thing, or you go outside and you're away. And I was going, he'll be telling me anyway, I'm not good enough in that. And I was in my head at the time. And then a wee postal boy comes out and I'm going, I'm chucking it anyway, I'm going up there to tell him. But at the end of the day, David comes to the top of the stair and goes, Tony, hurry up, the gaffer's waiting you. So I goes away up the stair and I goes in, chaps the door, and Fergie's sitting at his desk though. And I goes in and I looks and he goes, all right, Tony, he says, come in. So I'm looking, and I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at the side and was a big set of keys, and I thought he's just going to pick them up and want some of it. Crazy because teachers done all that. I know, it's mental. And I'm going, and he's looking at me and he's going, come in, sit down. And straight, it's this reactions, learned behaviour. I went, if he's going to jump out of the thing to me, I'm not going to be sitting down. I need to be up on my feet and all this stuff. Sort of. And he's looking at me and he's going, Tony, sit down. So I sat down and I wanted to say, honestly, I really wanted to say, listen, I'm chucking this, I'm out of here. But I couldn't get the words out. And he looks at me, and this is true, sorry for pointing at you, Frank, but he goes, listen, son, I've been watching you, and I've been watching you very, very closely. And do you know something? You've got great potential, like this football club. Now, potential, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But I knew it was...
You tried to be cheeky.
No, I thought because of his energy and the thing, it was going to be something good.
This is a good thing.
And I went, and he went, I'm telling you now, he says, not only will we be challenging Celtic and Rangers, he says, I'm telling you in 5 years' time we'll be above Celtic and Rangers. Now we're bottom of the old. You had to finish sixth to get into even the first division to play and then try and get in the Premier League. And he's going, I'm telling you now, 5 years' time, he says, we'll be not challenged, we'll be above them. We'll be winning trophies, we'll be winning leagues, we'll be in Europe. He said, do you know something? I'm going to tell you, and you're going to lead us in the park, you're going to be my captain. And I went, do you believe what I'm telling you? I went, aye. So we went down the stairs, and
much
of course...
Much you gave me.
I know.
I'd be my first.
So we goes down the stairs and he opens it and into the dressing room. So the boys are having a wee look to see if I'm cut or whatever's done, but it wasn't. And he sort of said, listen, he just made a quick speech. He went, I'll speak to you individually, but he said, but this young man here is going to be my captain. And that was...
Wow.
It was incredible, but remember what I've said to Elizabeth.
So you got to go home and tell her?
So I've got the bus... Got the train, bus, right up to Springburn, and we were the top flat, and I always remember this to this day. I goes in, and Lisbeth's putting down wee Lorraine, no, she's no long, but he's putting down wee Lorraine, looking this lunatic's running, going, Lisbeth, you'll not believe this, I'm captain of St Mirren, I'm going to, told me I was getting a new contract, we're going to be in Europe. And where I came from, where we came from, she's looking at me to say, has he been sniffing that glue? I said, babe, she knew I didn't drink, you know what I mean? But she went, but it was brilliant, and she cut on and said, listen, that's fantastic, and no, for there, and then Fergie.
Was it full time? It was a club.
No,
the club wasn't full time. No,
that was him. No, we
Bringing it
never
up.
till we won that sixth position and get in the next league. Fergie then put us on sort of full time. Well, we say full time. We were only full time because me, Frank McGarvey, Derek Hislop, Alec Beckett, we all worked on the ground. Then I painted at the stadium. They were all joiners. So what we would do our work in the morning and then train in the afternoon. So that's why we went. And then Fergie, the following year, we all went full time. He started to build a really good young side. And I think the directors looked at it and said, "Oh, listen, it's starting to." But the guy was not even just a good side. He built the whole town.
Of course he did. Built it up, didn't he?
In fact, that's a really good point. He did do that, didn't he? He was getting involved in all sorts of things, trying to get people in through the turnstiles, as you know.
He's doing the banners, wasn't he? The
good
van
with
and all
him.
that.
He did a white vanny off things. But he would
Tannoids.
go out in the van with the tannoids. But the politicians do it. We were in Ferguson, Foxbar, Glenburn, all over. That the whole of Paisley and Renfrewshire at that time were incredible. Now, this was just the start of the journey. We'd be up in the Paisley, the cenotaph at Paisley. He'd be asking people to come to games. I was still staying in a flat in Howard Street at the time. And he built this. I mean, we lived off him for 20 years after it. But the whole of Paisley, we were like superstars. Nowadays we never had motors. Nowadays you'd walked into the stadium and you'd have grannies, grandfathers all shouting to you, "Oh, the best of the day, Tony, son, my boys are going down to watch the day." And you just felt part of something. We were in the bingo, pubs, we were everywhere in the community. It was an incredible time, incredible time.
See, having him as your manager in those days, if somebody had said to you, like, time machine, he's going to become Sir Alex Ferguson and win the European Cup with Scotland's greatest have a manager, could you imagine believing that?
Aye.
Yeah.
I could have, honestly. There was just something about him in terms of the passion he had and the drive he had. And because I witnessed what he was doing out with the football as well, and he was also very great tactically. I mean, he was a really shrewd guy. No, even in the days, he would pick things and I'll be honest with you, I would think so.
I'm trying to remember your kind of timescale with Fergie. Was he manager when you were there? No.
No.
Who was it? Was it Jim Clooney and people?
Jim Clooney signed me and get sacked the following morning. Remember, it was Jim's. I was part time and I went full time, and I went and it was. I know I was on trial. That's with Jim Clooney, and he put me on 2 games. I done all right, and he put me on a Renfrewshire Cup final, so against Morton. So they were playing on the first team, and there was a few first team players playing for St Mirren, and I get sent off. The guy from Morton, don't know who he was, but he was trying to be a bully. He was ginger boy and all that, wee skinny boy, and he just tried to go at the top of cup team, and I didn't have it, and I went higher than him, and it was all kicked off. I get sent off, and I thought I'd blown it, but he said to me, "I knew you had the ability, but I didn't know you had to fight." So they signed me, and then he gets sacked, and Ricky took over.
Ricky was
brilliant.
Ricky was top,
the only thing I didn't like about Ricky, it meant I couldn't fake an injury on a Monday.
Oh, I know, he was a physio. Oh, he was a top physio.
So I was like, "You're joking me."
We forget about Ricky. No, Ricky McFarlane was...
Brilliant.
Jim Clooney was good. See, to be fair to Jim Clooney, I left after that. I just come back when you were breaking it. I mean, I went to Bristol, 79, 81, and I played under Jim for a wee spell, but generally Ricky McFarlane that's how I generally come back to St Mirren as well. No.
So there's some incredible characters, I'd imagine, in that.
Oh,
in that
my
St
God.
Mirren. You different spells at St Mirren. You had 2 spells as well. I've seen a lot of players over the years, but there must have been some real corkers.
It was Peppermint Corner. Do you remember that? It was Peppermint Corner. That was all the boys that went out for the drink. But listen, all top players. And I've got to say one thing about our dressing room. It was mental, right? No, the fights in it were incredible. And even training, that 8 against 8 sides, and that was worse than the games on a Saturday. And that's what I was going to say. Boys did enjoy themselves, went out and had a drink and whatever. But I'll tell you, seeing training or on the Saturday, they were up for it. They were, the characters, weren't they?
Never
They were-
mind.
So I'm
Maybe-
thinking of
maybe
guys
I
like
would-
kind of obviously Billy Abercrombie,
Billy, aye.
Lex Richardson. You mentioned Bobby Reid.
Lexi was a great player as well. wasn't he? Good
Legs,
player.
Starkey.
Big Starkey.
Big Billy
Billy was on
Stark.
one side, that was another. Tony was in the middle.
Aye, that's right.
So me and Starkey were scoring the goals. We were just scoring. That was
they're
double figures. It was incredible. We had a good team. McDougall, Jimmy Bone, and Dougie Somner.
Dougie Somner.
So that was the three
Yeah,
strikers.
that's right.
That
Peter
was
Weir
it.
had just left. I think Peter Weir.
Scanlon came.
Scan
Peter Weir
came in.
came in.
Scan
Came
was
in.
different
It was
class
incredible.
as well. No,
Used
you
to
look at
twist
that
Peter
team.
into the ground, didn't he, Scan?
Aye, you look at that team.
That was good. We used to get Europe every year, Tony. It was
every year. And
good.
semi-finals all the time.
All the time.
And if
Beat
you
with
look,
Rangers penalties again. Penalty again with Rangers, beat us again.
but remember the one we get put out with the goal. It should have never.
It's never been a goal.
Never
Never
a
a
goal.
Was that Hampden?
Honestly,
terrible.
it was a replay.
Aye, terrible.
I'm not, God rest his soul, no, Frank, but Frank McDougall was through twice
Aye.
with 1-against-1 with the goal. He missed it. But at corner kicks, right, and I could swear in this, at corner kicks, me and Lex were on the posts. I was on the front post, Lex was in the back post. And it goes in, and Sandy Clark goes up and heads it. No. Ricky and them always told you, don't stand in the line. No, take a step forward. That's where you always, I had the post, he had the post. And I'm looking across. It wasn't even near the line. And Lexi clears it, Moore runs out, and he gave it the goal. He gave the goal, referee at the time.
terrible.
Ah, it was shocking.
If only VAR had been around.
Oh, I'll tell you. But we should have beat. There was
Even
teams
goal line
in
technology would have been all right,
even
wouldn't it?
Celtic,
I know,
in
even Celtic.
semi-finals. We should have. That was a real good side.
Aye.
I mean, when you think of Frank, say with Frank McDougall up front, Dougie's Sommer Botten. I mean, we're top strikers.
And they were probably, for a period then, sort of late 70s, early 80s, some of them were almost like the third force.
it was, yeah.
Aye,
No,
aye.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When I come in, it was, we were always there, but it was, I didn't come into 81.
Aye.
But it was just taking off, and I thought the team was, I loved the way, they played football the way it should be played.
Aye, it was,
You know, they
it
got
was,
the ball
yeah.
down and playing, and all this nonsense now, you know, going square and backwards. Tony, he wouldn't do that, you know.
No, you look.
If you make a run up front, you get a chance of getting it because one of the boys will give you it.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot
I
of
think you could
segues
have
and
played
backwards.
anywhere right enough, but to put you up front was brilliant as well. No, that was.
Do you know the only reason I said it was Ricky? I said to Ricky, I said I want to play up front because I was getting man of the match.
Aye, I know.
And all I was getting was MOM,
Yeah.
McAvennie. And McDougall would do nothing to score a goal and he'd get headlines.
Get on the
I said, I want a headline. That's why I wanted to
Aye,
play
we'll play up front.
But you know what? Jimmy Bone used to bring me back.
Aye.
And he used to hold me and teach me, and I'm going, I thought it was a punishment.
Aye, but it
Because
was
one
a
of the
real-
senior players bring us back. I thought it was punishment, but he said to me, "You're going to play up front."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That was so stupid. I'm a midfield player." And that was 4 years I had midfield, and then he played more up
Played you
front
up
the last
front.
year.
That was-
And Jimmy, you don't get. I wouldn't imagine you get that now in the game.
No.
Somebody like that coming out of the wind. Jimmy's not the biggest in the world, and he was just teaching me how to jump into people and
Brilliant
get up
striker.
before them. And then you'll get free kicks and all that kind of stuff, and just wee things.
Him and Son
Back
as
into
well,
my
they're
tremendous.
old school, and
Oh,
they knew
aye.
how to play that position.
Oh,
Do you know what I
they
mean?
knew how to play.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
So it was Jimmy. Jimmy was good to me, but I
Aye.
thought it was a punishment. I used to hate him.
So you've said to me a few times that St Mirren change room had a few Celtic supporters in it.
I think we're all Celtic supporters, weren't we? I don't think there was any.
I was a St Mirren supporter.
St Mirren
But no,
supporter, no.
Did you had to deal with a lot of that kind of lying down at Celtic nonsense? So
Oh,
Christ.
no,
No, I mean that.
What a lot of
You
nonsense.
know yourself in football. It doesn't matter who
No.
you support or who you don't. You go out there when you're there.
Aye.
You want to do well. You want to play, and many times, especially the later on. I remember when Celtic beat us at Love Street to win the league under with David Hay.
86.
Hearts, and I always say to this day, Hearts bottled it. Because the bottom line is, if they'd have got a draw or beat Dundee up at Dundee, it didn't matter if Celtic beat us 20-0. Hearts would have won the league. So they, no,
not
people always look
blaming
for
you.
victim, think,
Aye.
that's St Mirren that let us down. Celtic were phenomenal that day. I always remember, I played in the game, to be honest. We'd started brilliantly. St Mirren started, Celtic were really nervous. And we missed a great chance. We missed a chance. And
McGarvey.
aye, he
Aye,
missed
come
a
in from
chance.
the outside.
He wasn't going to. He wasn't going to
Aye,
miss
aye,
it.
aye,
Aye,
aye.
you
I'd
could-
have
aye,
scored
but-
that.
aye,
Aye,
he'd have
to my
scored.
place, I'd have scored
Oh,
that.
All those great goals you might have scored.
Aye, oh, there was, but McGarvey,
Brilliant.
that, oh, what a
What a player.
player.
I love the
what
guy.
a
I love
player.
God rest him,
And
I
a
loved
great
him.
guy.
I know.
No, really fantastic. And I'm not saying it to embarrass Frank here, but my dad used to go off his head with me because I always get asked who was the sort of best player you ever played with, and I would always say Frank McAvennie is the best I've seen. And no, it's the truth. I was lucky enough, if I played with Dalglish, I'd have said Dalglish would have. I'd go into a lot of Scotland squads where we played in training with Dalglish and stuff like that, so I would say he was probably better, but he is better. But Frank, I'm not just saying it, no, I played in England, I watched top strikers down there. In his day, he was honestly, he had everything.
Well,
absolutely everything.
How you coping with that? You dealing with listening to that?
Well, it's the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, you know yourself if you've had a good game, or you know, and you know when you play with players. I mean, I played midfield with him, played when he was up front, and as I say, I'm not trying to embarrass him, but
absolutely,
but think what you done when you went to West Ham. I mean, that was some achievement to go down there and do what he done. Celtic, St Mirren, what he done at St Mirren. But it's great when you play with players. You know, McDougall was a top player as well. No, great finisher, Frank McDougall and stuff like that. I don't want to miss him because there were so many great players I played with. But if I was to pick one, he would definitely be the number one.
Well,
definitely.
That's lovely to hear. On that 86 game at Love Street, was that famous goal that Celtic scored right up the right wing? Danny McGrain, Paul McStay, Brian McClare. I can't remember who put it in the net. Maybe no mention. But you were saying you had a chance to maybe stop that break.
If you look back, I'm just a bit short. I tried to take Big Roy out to stop the move because we were flying. Danny McGrain started, didn't it? It was played into that. Well, if you look at it, because I've watched the old YouTube, and I was just that inch away from taking him out, but the big guy Big Roy was a bear, wasn't he? No, he was just strung aside and played it. But I must admit, that game, and I can dispel any rumours, we would never lie down against anybody. We gave it our best shot, but it was one of the games in my life I sort of played in and I thought, they've got more than 11 players in this part. This is unbelievable. No, it was honestly, they were all over the place.
Before we go any further, just a quick reminder to everybody who's watching to hit the subscribe button. It's free to do it. Hit the button at the bottom of your screen and do all the usual. Share it on social media.
But just subscribe.
Aye, that's it. It's like leading a horse to water, isn't it? You can, but if you do that, and we'll continue to deliver the brilliant guests like Tony Fitzpatrick and. So 1987 Scottish Cup final.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, a big moment in your career. And you very nearly, you only came on as a sub, didn't you, because of injury?
I did, yeah. As I say, I thought I was going to miss it as well because I've been captain of St Mirren for years and years. And 87, and it was incredible what happened. I broke my jaw in 2 places. And as I fell, I'd done my knee in as well. So I was in plaster. I'd been wired up, and I mean wired up nowadays. I know now they've got these fancy surgery, but I had wires in my jaw for 9 weeks. Aye, wired to me. I only had a wee space there, so I lost over 2 stone in weight. You could only sip through stuff. Couldn't train, couldn't do anything. And this is where I've got to give Alex Smith and Jimmy Bowen, because I went to every game with the boys. You know what I mean? They went through. I never played in any games, league games or the cup games. And it was a few weeks before it. We were going. The last league game was Rangers at Ibrox, and as I say, I went to the semi-final Hearts game again where St Mirren were magnificent. We played really well. McAvennie scored the winner with the back flick. It was brilliant, and I thought Dundee United, which we always done quite well against Dundee United. So I thought, I'm going to miss out on all this, and I get pulled in with Alex Smith into his office. Him and Jimmy were sitting and said, "Look, Tony, we know you're not been training and stuff like that, but there's 2 weeks before the thing," because I was starting to jog a bit and stuff like that, and he says, "See the Rangers game coming up, do you think you could play half a game in it? Maybe we'll train you the nudist with that." So I done that, and I played half a game and took us off, and it was my gav went like, "You've played yourself into the team," and I was like, "What?" And so anyway, but Alec and them, we were doing in C-Mill and that, and they go to us and he says, "Listen, we feel you could play a part in this, but I'll be late on or whatever, so we'll bring you on maybe the last 20 minutes if things are going well or whatever way." And I was delighted because guys like Paul Chalmers and Peter Godfrey missed out, who'd scored goals And I always remember sitting in the dressing room with my medal and looking at these two guys who gave so much that year. But for me, it was unbelievable because I say I got on before extra time, and then the whole of extra time, and there was honestly they scored. Remember Dundee United,
and it was chopped off.
Chopped off because of somebody that rule would win the line, and then Ian Ferguson scored a great goal, and I always remember this. It was just Kenny Hope was the referee. In the last 5 minutes of that game, and he'll tell you, but it used to keep saying, Fitzpatrick, get away from me. I would be after him saying, blow the whistle, it's time, and he was going, Fitzpatrick, get away. But one of the greatest things that happened was once the final whistle went and we got the cup, me and Billy Abercrombie held the cup, and we were two who came from the same school. We were school pals in Maryhill. And the two ran to the St Mirren end holding the cup together, and it was sensational. The game bypassing, it was a horrible game. See, if I'm being honest, it's probably one of the cups.
I was there. We were all there. We all get invited. That was with Gordon McQueen. That was with Gordon McQueen. Try to drink with him. That's an experience.
And am I not right in saying so United were playing Gothenburg in the two-legged UEFA Cup fight? Aye, so that was a sore few days.
But you know, in the dressing room before the game, now the team sheet comes in. And Jim McLean was a genius, a manager, but he left Paul Hegarty and the boy Gallagher out. And we thought, we've got some chance here. No, honestly, because Paul Hegarty was a stalwart at the back of the area. And the boy Gallagher at the time, remember Kevin Gallagher was flying at the time.
Scored against us in the
final,
I think it's year after it.
I think because they've got beat, he's maybe went, right, I'm changing
it around.
And it was
a chance.
But it was afterwards, see, driving in that bus through Barhead into Paisley, and it was an incredible experience.
I know, it was good.
And I was blessed, as I say, just to take it on.
We were all getting invited up to St Mirren. St Mirren invited all the ex-players up.
Yeah.
I was with Stevie Clark.
Stevie.
Big Gordon, God rest him, but someday.
See if I can take you back to Fergie and St Mirren. You were telling us a story earlier on too about, you really backed him when he left St Mirren as well, didn't you?
Simon, you're absolutely right. It was the only reason I left St Mirren. What happened was, I will never forget this. Fergie delivered in everything he was saying. We were, we won that, we got in the thing, we were going to the Premier League, we were going brilliantly. And we were in the cusp of sort of doing well. And I'm in the house the night and my phone goes, and I get the phone call, and it was Ricky McFarlane. Ricky had said, come down to St Mirren, I say 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night or something. And I went, what? He went, just get yourself down here. So I put the phone down and I said to my missus, I went, I have to go down to the ground. Now, I'm thinking, she went, what's wrong? I went, I'm getting a transfer. I must be getting a transfer. No, so I went down, and here Alex in the room, Sir Alex in the room, and he was quite upset actually, you know what I mean? So I went back, I thought I'd just tell you and let you know. He says, they've sacked me. I'm like, what? So he said, I'll come in and speak to the boys in the morning. So I goes out, and the directors were standing who had done it, and they went, Tony, could we speak to you? I went, no, I'm not speaking to you. I said, this, and I'd swear I just talked about it. He'd say, I went, that's the worst thing you could ever have done for St Mirren. And I remember saying that as a kid, and I went home, and we were devastated. And everybody in the dressing room, Billy started, we're not ashamed to say it, everybody was crying. I mean, couldn't believe. So anyway, the things that were getting said, why, and all these stupid stories about why he gets sacked, and a load of garbage. And I knew the truth. So I went as a witness for Sir Alex tribunal against the director. I seen it against the directors really. So I went to that tribunal, and to be fair, he lost it in a technicality which was horrendous. And see if I tell you what he lost it on was, he gave a loan of his car, his club car, to the groundsman who took his kids to Saltcoats. Now I witnessed that as well. So that's how they never get permission to do it. So I was raged, and we'd played Liverpool and stuff, and Frank was going to Liverpool, and they were thinking of selling other players and stuff. So, and of course I've done what I've done, went with the manager against them. So it was Jim Clooney come up, and he was great with me, to be fair, but the director sat with me, and I said, well, listen, I'm if this is what it's going to be, I'm leaving. And Celtic were interested at the time, which was great, and Aberdeen, Fergie had sort of moved to Aberdeen a few weeks later and said they were interested, but the club sat me down and says, you're not going to another Scottish team. They had the power.
They had the power in those days, exactly, the contract
Who was
situations.
the directors? Who was it?
Willie Todd, John Corson. So they were sort of, at that time they sat and they said, right, there's an opportunity. There was, funny enough, Leeds United, Aston Villa, who Ron Saunders had come in as manager. Aston Villa, who had told me
You weren't good enough.
wasn't good enough,
When you
in
back.
Bristol City. So I went to the thing, I let myself do my Aston Villa because I had that vehement in me, they'd done it. Silly.
exactly.
And it was probably the biggest mistake. Now, I wouldn't have, maybe I've not got in that team, but they went on to win the European Cup a couple of years, about 18 months later.
Exactly.
And I was with Bristol.
And there was a good wee Scottish contingent in that
Oh,
team
and
as
Des
well.
Bremner got
Aye,
signed, and then they were all
Couple
there.
two centre-backs came in, and Alan Evans as well.
But do you know what made me Bristol? Because I played against, but also the beautiful part of the country to stay.
I know.
Alan Dix was the manager, then he left and Roy Hodgson came in. But there was all Scottish boys in the Bristol. Jerry Gow, Tom Ritchie, was it Jerry Sweeney?
Aye.
No, Donny Gillis, who else? John Shaw. There was about 6 or 7 Scots boys in it. And it was great. I went there and I really enjoyed it because then you were going and playing against Liverpool, Man United and all that. It was brilliant.
It's somewhere to live in it.
Listen, it was that first day. Peter Cormack was my neighbour.
Yeah.
No, Peter played,
Yeah.
and we played midfield together with Jerry Gow. And Peter, I stayed in Portishead, the same place as Peter. Peter was a phenomenal guy. God rest him again. Just no long ago died. It was, and there's so many teammates now dying.
Tell me about it. I know.
Starting to
Something
get
in
else.
you, I mean,
I
you-
know.
I don't know about you, but it's always, I don't know how I'm still here.
I love the story you told us earlier as well about the possibility of maybe going to Bayern Munich too.
It's a true story, yeah. Very true story. It was, we just had won the league and everything. My contract was up, and Sir Alex at the time had sort of spoke to me and he says, look, there was myself, Bobby Reid, Frank McAvennie, and there was sort of interest in different clubs at that time. But here I got approached, and I can't say the name to be honest, but I got approached anyway, and they said, look, Bayern Munich are interested in you, and I was like, yeah. So anyway, I met them in Glasgow, right? And I was still staying in Howard Street, that wee house in Howard Street, wee flat in Howard Street. So I spoke to him. I said, there's an opportunity here. But Sir Alex had said to me a few days before, listen, I'm looking a new contract for you. I'm going to get you a really good contract. I'm looking after you, and we're building a club here, right? So that was fine. So we all met on a Saturday, and it was up in the town. There used to be an old bookstore there. No, actually, Gordon McQueen ended up owning it years later and turned into Birthdays, it was called. But it was long before that. So I was so nervous. I'm in there with the boss, Alex, Sir Alex, McGav. There was about 6 players and me, and we were all signing. They brought out this St Mirren book, and we were all signing it, and I'm trying to get away. And I went like to the guy, oh, listen, Tony, come here a minute. He went, can I speak to you in the back shop? And I'm going, oh, no. And he goes to the guy, aye, in you go. So I goes into the back shop. And I says to him, he says, right, he says, listen, come in on Monday. He says, I've got you a great contract. He says, so...
This is Fergie.
This is Fergie, sorry, yeah. So Fergie went in the back shop with that bookstore and he went, listen, Tony, I've got you, I'm looking after you. He said, I told you I'd look after you. I've got you a good contract, so come in on Monday and we'll get it sorted. And I went, I just hesitated. I went, you've been tapped, didn't you? And I went, what? And he went, you've been tapped. I know who it is. Tell me now. And I was going, no. He says, right, in on Monday and see me. So there was a wee bit, if you look back at the old Paisley Expresses, there was a bit, saying Fitzpatrick's letting the club, it was all going on and stuff like that. So, to be fair, I'll be honest with you, when I sat down with that and he says, look, I've got you this contract, we're building the club, this and that. That had went out my mind a bit. I was really thinking. He did always look out. He came with a promise what he said, and I says, right, I will sign. So I did sign, and Bayern had put a bid in for myself and Bobby Reid, the centre back at the time. Aye, that's a true story, yeah.
And tell me this,
They never won many European Cups, did they?
No, I know.
Aye, but that's
Yeah.
great though.
It's good that you stayed there at St Mirren.
Have you kept in touch with Sir Alex over the years? Still speak
Yeah, I
every time
have. He's a fantastic man. I've always kept in touch with him, yeah.
And you doing what you did in that tribunal as well. There's probably not many players over his time as a manager that have really stepped up to the plate for him like that,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
That's
I
amazing.
would always. I know people say this all the time. It's like I've got more feathers than them, but my dad was a big influence. Bobby Dinney, who at post YM was like a dad to me as well. And later in life, that changed my life completely at an early age. You know, when I was just married and stuff like that. So, I know everybody says that about him. But he is, like I say, he was like a dad to us. But he's just a fantastic man. And I try and
He
keep.
tried to
as much
sign me
touch.
and McDougall.
Aye.
Aberdeen.
Yeah. Well, I could believe it.
I tried to sign me and McDougall, and they said you can have McDougall.
Aye, there you are. Oh no, he would have. He would have.
Do you know the one question I would ask him if I ever got a chance to interview him would be if he could put together a team of his entire managerial career, if any St Mirren players, if he could pick one St Mirren player that would be in that team, do you know what I mean? And you know, I wonder if he's ever answered that. You know, like if you know if
We'll get him on.
he's had all
Aye,
these,
we'll
he's
get
had
him
all
on.
these
Tony will
players,
ask him.
he's had all these
Aye,
European
should.
Cup, he's all these European Cup winning players and all
Yeah,
that stuff. But I'll bet he would say aye, the barrel for Tony Fitzpatrick and that's it.
I don't know. It's he had such great players, and when you look back as well, when you think of Peter Wears as well, you think, see the teams we had there. No, it was incredible players that came through St Mirren.
So he took a few up to Aberdeen, didn't he?
He did. He took
Weir.
Starkey and he took Peter
Starkey.
Weir. Yeah. Well, that was the other story, to be fair, because I was supposed to, when I was coming up for Bristol, I chose St Mirren with Ricky, and they say choose, but I ended up there. You had no power in the days as well. Bristol were wanting to sell. They sold Jerry Gow to Man City, Joe Royal to Norwich, and then Roy Hodgson sat with me and he says, Tony, because Bristol were going under, remember? And he says, I was probably the next sellable asset, so they said, look, and again, I could have went to an English club, Leeds, but I knew the three clubs, Celtic, I spoke to Big Billy, Celtic, Fergie was on the phone all the time to sign for Aberdeen, and St Mirren, and he was sort of saying at the time, no, we got that, but I ended up going to St Mirren.
Sure.
I come back to St Mirren.
Man money.
No, do you know what, Frank? This is a true story. If I've got time to tell it.
Of course you do.
As a kid, as I said to you, I had this. But you said it's no gift. I mean, they can do it, and this is true. The chairman ended up chairman of St Mirren, Louis Kane. Do you remember Big Louis? I don't know if you remember Louis. But Louis used to, when I was a kid, when I used to do the grounds work, I was assistant groundsman to Jimmy Ritchie. Great family, the Richies, they were brilliant to me. But I used to cut the grass and do all the sort of stuff. So when I signed for St Mirren, him and Ricky met me. And as a kid, after training and doing that thing, I wanted a house in Thornley Park Avenue. If you know Paisley, it's the place to be. Right, it's the place to be. So as a kid, I had these dreams, what I said about you, shut my eyes, be a footballer. Louis would drive me up to Thornley Park Avenue. Believe this or no, I would sit in his car outside this house. He would go away, he was smoked all the time, and I would shut my eyes and dream about this house with Elizabeth in it and Lorraine and all that. I was that. So as we were doing the negotiations, when they come up like that, Louis was like to me, Tony, we can't give you the money because in England, you know, the money's totally different. And he says, can't give you the money, but you know something, we can help you try and get this house in Thornley Park Avenue, the house you always liked. And that's what they did. They helped me get that house.
Brilliant.
Honestly, his dream, no, visualise it. I'm a great believer in it now.
Of course.
No, you see people use it now, but that always done
I'm just
that.
thinking tonight, a lot of tickets tonight.
But you've got to put a ticket on, you've got to take the action. It's all right
The
thinking.
big man saying, help me out, put one.
I know, that's right.
We're going to, we'll finish on a wee minute talking about St Mirren at the moment and whatever, but I want to talk about maybe one of the greatest moments on a football pitch, your greatest assist probably. You might not remember this, but it was a game in Beith in AstroTurf Park.
Yes.
And
there you go.
Ashfield Vicks and Paisley amateur team I was playing, and you, but Matt Kerr,
Matt Kerr is a great friend,
so Matt was manager, and it was one of these games, I can't remember what the occasion was, but it was a bounce game anyway. You played the ball through to me, I chipped the keeper, and I scored, and I ran back, chuffed the bits, And this man says, you finished that like Marco van Basten.
Aye.
Now,
That's a true
I
story.
don't tell
Aye.
that story
No,
very
no.
often.
That's
Don't
a
tell,
true
he's only
story.
taught twice a day.
Talk about the past.
I did that, by the way, I can still picture it.
I used to do that to me all the time, so I don't go on about it.
You split the defence, and with my legendary pace, there was like
I
a
know.
track going through there, and I
You've done
just
that to me
think,
every game, but I don't keep on about it.
I know, but come on, I only scored one goal with Fitzpatrick assisted me, and you scored
I know.
two.
That was a great game.
So, like, cards on the table, we're
Yeah.
obviously filming this before the St Mirren Hearts
Yes.
Cup
Yes.
tie, so we don't know what the outcome is, but
Yeah.
so we've moved the Scottish Cup to one side, but St Mirren, how are things going? At the moment, you're an ambassador.
Yeah, I am. Yes, it's going fantastic. I'll be honest with you, I think it's going fantastic. And I mean, and we knew, say, would hopefully for the last sort of 10 years or so, the club's been moving in the right direction. You know, I mean, now we're hitting Europe. The things we said would be done. The building places in place. They're doing great, and we've got a great manager.
Aye.
You know, Stevie's a fantastic manager. We've got a great. How would I put, backroom staff. Physio's important as well.
of course.
Terry Dock, who's different class. Players, superb
Bringing the
squad
right
of players. And, of course, the fans, of course.
I was
are
a wee
magic.
bit concerned because it's going to be fan-owned.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that can... It's not the same as... Football's not the same as any other business, Tony, as you know. So all these businnesmen coming in trying to do it their way.
That was part of my job.
It doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to be there now.
That was part of my job. Was when I was in CEO, I was looking at it, and the big plan was to be fan owned, to get back, because we were bottom of the Championship, remember, and what our plan was to get in the Premier League again, get into the top six. So all these plans were like that, and it as you say. Stephen's taken it a bit step further as well. Now we're in Europe and stuff, so it's fantastic for the football club. And I think, as I say, it will only get better and better.
Completely, aye.
So you've got to applaud them for doing the right thing, really.
But sorry, I was saying about fan owned. That was the big achievement. We wanted it because at that time, remember when I came in as CEO, there was talk of getting sold to Argentine. People that was talking all different. So anyway, part of my job was to try, because I know the fans wouldn't be able to afford running the football club. Let's be honest. You know, I mean, as you say, it's a different business. So I went to a couple of different businesses. I looked at, I'll mention Malcolm's and Paisley. They're massive. Tried that to try and do that. There was ones in Allied Vehicle, Jerry Fitzpatrick, and they're fantastic people. But they all do sort of like the Speedway, the Rugby. And just a chance meeting with Mark McMillan. I was walking at a coffee shop, believe it or not, and he was saying, how's things at St Mirren? I says, and I'd explained to him, I'm saying the club's in a great position, we're driving forward and this and that. And he went, listen, I've got our chief executive, a guy called Jim Gillespie, a young guy. He said he's different class. He says, do you want to meet him? I met him. Sold about Gordon Scott owned the club at the time, owned St Mirren. He was the sole owner, big St Mirren fan. So I spoke to Jim and he said, I'm really interested in that. And for me, it was the dream to bring in two institutes together. A charity, Kibble, which they could never ever sell St Mirren or doing. So we joined up, and to be fair to Gordon Scott, he sold his shares to them and to Smicer. It took a lot for Gordon to give it up. And the Kibble and that, and to be fair, it's like an arranged marriage in it, and it's been difficult times at the very beginning because people change, they don't want it. But you can see how successful it's been.
Successful. St Mirren legend with the club at heart as well, and you've played a big part in safeguarding things going forward.
You're not a director.
No, I've taken a step back for that, Frank. As I said, I'd planned to come back for 5 years, and again, you'll know this, but you played a part in this, and I'll be honest with you because. And you maybe remember, any time St Mirren they were getting sold. And my dad was dying at the time, right? And I was living with him at the time. I had my own business and stuff, but I was staying with him at the time. And you'd been on the radio and saying they should bring somebody back like Tony Fitzpatrick or something. That's where it's needed and stuff like that. And so I was sitting with my dad, and this is a true story, and we'll have us all greeting in a minute.
I know, go for it.
This is true. So he's sitting on the couch, and he always slept. He just slept away. And I'd sort of been moaning about St Mirren, and you were on the telly, and you'd mentioned again, somebody was interviewing you, and it was something like that. So my dad wakes up, this is true, and he like went, that's McAvennie, isn't it? And I went, as I went, oh, what a player he is. What a player. This is true, Frank, honestly. He said, what a player. He went, and you're moaning, what you got to do about that, St Mirren? I says, that's nothing I can do. He went, you do something. And I went, right, I promise you I will. And a few years later, I went to hospital and he died.
Wow.
And I met Brian McCausland, and I was talking away to him, and for there, I got interviewed and stuff like that, and I got the CEO job, which was brilliant.
See, I know what I'm talking about.
I know. But do you know what? I've got to go, I'm saying me, but Gordon Scott, no, Jim Gillespie, no, and Kibble, but see all the way through that, we were very successful. No, think about it, no, we Alex Ray was first the manager, and then Jack Ross came in. Jack Ross changed the whole concept. We talk about people, he brought Stephen McGinn in, who's new with the academy, but Stephen and him they changed the whole club, the mentality of the club, and for there, and we were very successful. No, when you think about it, our last manager, Oren Kearney, came in as well, but you think the last managers, Jack Ross, they took him to Sunderland.
Yeah.
Jim Goodwin went to Aberdeen.
Yeah.
No, Jim Goodwin, I've got to give him great credit, because Jim Goodwin, more or less last season, missed out in Europe with goal difference. Go to two semi-finals, the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, semi-final. St Johnstone won both cups that year,
That's
but
right.
we felt we were better than St John. We could have beat them. And so for there, and then before I left, speaking with Jim, me and Jim spoke, and the directors, they played a big part in all bringing Stephen in, but myself and Jim Gillespie got the task of sort of bringing the new manager in with the thing again, and Stephen were sort of ultimate choice. So before I left as well, played a part in that, bringing him in, but generally there's been a lot of hard work. I know because I was SEAL, you get a lot of the sort of, was that Tony? But the people, the staff in there, and especially COVID. I mean, COVID knocked us back, every club. But that was the fans. We were finished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 3,500 fans bought season tickets to keep the club going, knowing they weren't going to see a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Phenomenal club. Phenomenal club.
Well, you're talking about Jim. I think he's one to sponsor this podcast. So anytime you're ready, give me a phone.
Jim
So I was talking about it. There you go. Anytime you're ready, Jim.
That was one of the great things.
Camera there, Frank.
Well, good. Well, Jim's one of the. I mean, I was delighted he never went to Rangers. I was delighted.
It's just that I was a bit concerned because fans taking over a club sometimes doesn't work. You know, they try and get involved in too much, but if they just let people like Tony run it, then
and they did. See, to be fair, it's all right being fan owned, but no fan run.
I know.
And Smythe play a big part now. I mean, they're a great organisation, but they're only a small part of the whole St Mirren fan group.
Sure.
But I think the two together now, Smythe and the Kibble, because you look at Kibble, I mean, the resources they've done, and I mean, they've helped the club so much, if I'm being honest. No, so yeah,
it's been great to have you, because everyone keeps saying to me, Celtic and West Ham, but I've always said St Mirren. I've been to St Mirren.
Yeah.
I'm the only player that's played for 3 clubs twice. You know.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
St Mirren.
St Mirren.
St Mirren away, and love the club. So thanks for coming on.
No, I'm really delighted, honoured.
We're running out of time, but I tell you what, this has been
that.
great. And as I say, with my Paisley connections, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to the pair of you talking about the Saints
Good
back
times.
in the day.
What a good
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great,
And as I always say, we'll hopefully get you back on again sometime, Tony.
Hopefully speak about legacy.
Yeah. So what is it? That's your charity.
It's Legacy Comps. What it did is when we left St Mirren, because the club had been unbelievable to me and the community, because as Frank knows as well, I lost my son very early when 9, just when you were playing, we were playing. Young Tony, and I love to mention him, 6.5. The club and this community were great, and always wanted to do something to give back.
Yeah.
And when I left the CEO role, I says, right, I got together with pals, Jed McCabe, Matt McKillop and Sean Gill.
Jed, didn't he?
Oh, Jed's some boy, brilliant guy. So we all got together and I said, look, I've got an idea. I'd love to start this legacy comps and give back to the community. Yeah. So it's a website, of course, and it sells tickets and stuff like that. So we're three main charities is Rays of Hope, which I'm an ambassador for, the Accord Hospice, and St Vincent's, which is...
St Vincent's the one I was in. I come up to it.
That's right, St Vincent's Hospice. And because COVID devastated a lot of charities, so it was set up to help the three charities, plus sort of good causes and sports clubs. So we've gave away, to now we've gave something like nearly over £370,000 in private away, and also 80,000. We've been behind with other groups. No, we helped 80,000 to all these charities.
And people can look at the website. Is the website quite literally Legacy Comps?
Yeah, Legacy Comps. Look on it. You'll see me and Jed's ugly faces on that. We're like that. But
and something else I wanted to ask you about too. Obviously, you mentioned losing your son, and then you became a children's author for a while, didn't you? Do you still do anything?
Yes, I do that. Yeah, still writing stories. Fantastic. But that was in honour of Tony, really, because his nickname, my daughter's nickname was Babacucci as well, but Tony's nickname is Babacucci Bear, and that's what, when Tony, just a quick story again, was in the hospital when Tony passed away. Me and my wife came down the stair. And remember, his nickname is Babacucci Bear. We come down the stair at York Hill. As we walked out the main gates at York Hill, I'll never forget this. There was the most stunning double rainbow I've ever witnessed. I've seen rainbows, but this was unbelievable. And for a strange reason, every time I looked up at this, there was a great peace inside. I've just left my son, and you're going, wow. So years go by, and of course, I'm trying to think. My kids always remember me telling them stories at night and stuff like that, and I thought, I would love to do something to honour Tony. And I'm dyslexic as well, so I don't know where this came from. I'm a great believer in God, so I believe it's God that's put it there. So I got the idea of Babacucci Bear, the rainbow, but my brother Tommy was involved with the World Peace Prayer Society, and they have a peace pole which says, "May peace prevail on earth," which is up for now. So Babacucci's got the peace pole, and when he puts it in the ground and says, "May peace prevail on earth," a beautiful double rainbow appears, and Babacucci walks kids and adults through the rainbow for bereavement, bullying, all this sort of stuff like that. But quick story again, Simon, I didn't want Tony just to be known for bereavement, so I was sitting with Jed, and I said, I'm going to do another book, and I said, but I don't know how to do it, and what we put in, he went, "Have you never done a football story?" And it was like a light bulb moment. So Babacucci Bear and Sir Alex, he's the sort of, he put his name to it as well, which was great. He did the foreword. It's a brilliant foreword. And it's a story of Babacucci trying to be a football player and goes through his life. And it's called The Dream You Can Do This, which we all will do. It was like that. So it's a fantastic, and I'm still writing.
Listen, I mean, tell you what, if...
That's a quick
hold of that as well. So is that people can get hold of the book?
Yeah, well, they're just getting reprinted now. And they're just, the two books are getting reprinted because they get sold out, because again, with these books getting sold out, we helped a village in Malawi. So Tony's over Malawi, he's big 40, and he's got a children's land, he's got a chicken coop, he's got a creche. In Malawi.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
How for something devastating to something so positive. I love talking about
legacy, an absolute
legacy for him.
And it must fill you a lot of pride as well.
When I see, as I say, the village thing was brilliant, and I used to work with all the gangs in Poso and East End, and the guys in East End of Glasgow built a children's land, which was fantastic. It's called Babacucci Land, and it was boys who'd been fighting each other, the wee men, the rebels, all the gangs there. They got together and built this children's land for the wee brothers and sisters. So Tony, through tragedy, has brought so much positivity to the world. It's unbelievable.
Do you know what? That's an absolutely brilliant way to end the chat, Tony. Fantastic. Thanks for coming on and sharing all your memories.
Delighted.
Delighted.
Some amazing stories. And hopefully, there'll be a lot of Man United fans who maybe don't know the story back in the day and all that. The tribunal and all that. Absolutely brilliant. So listen, join us again. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week with another fantastic guest.
Yes.
I really think I got a belting guest next week, but not as good as Tony Fitzpatrick.
I'm sure it will be.
Got another one.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon for the next episode of Let Me Be Frank.
Take care.